about the fact that you grew up in a unity household. Tell us a little bit where you grew up and how.
I was born in New Orleans, 1945. Over the Mercedes-Benz dealership on St. Charles Avenue.
Who knew?
My mother was learning to be a beautician, and so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who in a tragic accident became disabled, and through Myrtle Fillmore's association, she with Myrtle Fillmore learned how to heal herself and passed that knowledge on to me by bestowing upon me that I was a divine individual. And my purpose in life was to give, not to take. And to believe that God was the source, the dynamic cosmic energy of God lives in each and every one of us. We are capable of achieving anything that we can believe. Anything you put into your mind, you can bring into material life. And that has been the source of my prosperity, my faith, my past and my future. All depends on how I think, because God lives in your mind and in your heart. God is dynamic, cosmic energy. And if you believe, then you are. That is the source of my belief system, and that is my strength in this life, to believe all is in divine order. No matter where you are in your life, you can go to where you want to go in your life and have all that you want in your life. And the more you believe this, the less material you need, the more faith you gain, and the more secure you become in knowing that all is well, all the time, with everyone, no matter what the appearances appear to be in life. Everything is in divine order, always.
Did your grandmother heal?
My grandmother learned to walk again. She tried to instill upon my brother and sisters the same lessons. And my younger sister became a unity traveling minister. But she never learned all the lessons. She learned what she was taught, but she did not learn to instill these things in herself. She thought she was the teacher because she had a master's degree in teaching. So she figured her role in life was to teach, but not to stop and listen and learn. Because God talks to you in the silence. He's not going to approach you and tell you, oh, you're doing wrong or you're doing right. Because there is no right and there is no wrong. All is in divine order. Where you are in your life is where you're supposed to be. And in the hardest of times is the greatest of lessons. In my 77 years, I have learned that when everything seems to go wrong, it's time to stop. When divine disorder takes place, it means it's time for change. Change is coming. That's why your life seems to be in disorder, because it's time to change your mindset. Go into the silence and listen. God talks to you through intuition. He doesn't speak to you in words. He speaks to me by showing me that this life is just a school. It's a school to elevate yourself into a higher sense of being. There is no lack, and there is no need, and there is no ambition if you have everything you need. And you have everything you need when you came into this world by His grace. God is good, but you have to listen. And you have to listen from your heart, because He may not say what is going to make you happy or what you're going to accept as what you think is right. We're just students here. We're students trying to learn how to be more, so that when we go on from here, we can go to the better place. That's the lessons I have learned from Unity and through Unity teachings. But I didn't learn this from childhood and grow through this. I had to do like everyone else. I'm married into a devout Catholic family and lived in that world for 20 years to figure out that I was not a sinner and I was not a bad person. I was just another student. Listen, and you will hear the right path. The thing that you're supposed to do for you and what is good for me is not good for you, because we're all divine and we're all God's children, and each and every one of us have our own path to follow. And sometimes you have to be the bad guy in order to figure out how to become the good guy. And sometimes when you think you're the good guy, you're not helping someone else. You're actually hurting that person by contributing to their delinquency. And you don't have to search for God. My mother and my grandmother and my father taught me God will find you in your own time, in His own time, in that cosmic energy that we call God. Will find you when you are on your hardest times, when you give up on everything else. If you just stop and listen, go into the quiet, and you will hear from your heart what is the next step. I don't plan where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. Those things are from the past. I know all is in divine order, and I am here today because I'm supposed to be here today. And where I'm going to be tomorrow is where I'm supposed to be tomorrow. And not to worry, because it's all going to work out anyway. I thank God every day. I meditate every day, every morning and every evening, because my greatest joy in life is my conversation with the divine.
Well, I can attest that and have noticed that you've had some pretty difficult losses the last few years, people close to you. And I have observed that you have handled it with an extreme peace. How have you done that, Frank?
My belief is the greatest gift we have is leaving here, not our arrival. We have been freed from this burden of life so we can go on and become cosmic energy and go on. My mother lived to 102, and the older she got, the less she said, but the words that came from her were few, but words of wisdom. In my 40s, after a nasty divorce, my prayer was, God, give me wisdom. Give me strength so I can have faith that what my belief system is going to drive me toward my greatest good. I'm not a rich man, but I am the richest man that I know for me, because I have satisfaction in life. I enjoy life. And I have no fear, because I live in faith every day that whatever happens is divine order, and I am going to a place that is better than this, because I'm going to graduate from this school and go to high school. And quite honestly, I'm not a graduate of any school because I was too inquisitive to know more of what we're studying right here today in this school than I was in being brainwashed into believing things that society wanted me to believe. To believe that money was success, power was success. Neither of those things are success. Satisfaction and love of one another. I'm not a smart man, but I think that I am much wiser today than I was. I had 3 family losses in 90 days. And instead of crying at the memorial service or the funerals, I learned from my grandmother to be joyous and happy, because those people no longer had to put up with the strife of life.
Well, I just happen to know of a miraculous story that you told me once. We were sitting up at Applebee's after church. This has been a while ago. It was about an event a storm when you and Sharon were living on a boat, and the boat fell apart, or the storm tore it apart. Do you want to tell a little bit about that
Well,
miracle that happened?
divine order is a funny thing. I thought I was a pretty good mariner. Had a captain's license, had a marine engineer's certificate. I was a successful automobile mechanic. Shoot, we'd accomplished all of the goals that I thought that I needed to accomplish to be successful. But as it turned out, we missed the weather window, and my wife, who I presently am married to, is dedicated to her job because of her insecurities. So we stayed, and for 2 months longer than we should have, and got caught in the middle of, Hurricane Andrew came ashore, and I said, we have to go. We've got a destination to make, and people were waiting on us and worried about what society and other people thought. So we left, and we got caught in what was called the no-name storm. 3 days in 40-foot seas, and broke the forward cross beam on our 36-foot trimaran, and it swept away. And my wife said, we're gonna die. I said, we're not gonna die, honey. God's not ready for us to die. We've got things to accomplish. We've got places to go and people to see and things to do. God is not ready for us to leave here yet because we haven't learned all the lessons we need to learn. And that is the lesson of faith. So we came ashore after being airlifted off of that boat and landed on a tarmac in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we sat on the tarmac for a prolonged period of time. And the commander came aboard and he said, Mr. Beber, would you like to, we would like for you to talk to the media. The media would like to know what you intend to do with your life. And I said, sure, I'll be happy to talk to the media. It's exactly the purpose that God put me here. Well, the commander kind of looked at me kind of like, what's this guy? This guy's some kind of nutcase. And I went out in front of the media and they said, Mr. Beber, we understand that you lost your home and this was your home. I said, yes, it was. And he said, so what are you going to do now? I said, it's not for me to decide what I'm going to do. God has a plan. And that plan is for me to be satisfied that I am still here and have a purpose. And they asked me, what is your purpose? I said, it's not for me to know what my purpose is. My purpose is to live in faith that all is going to be well. Well, what concluded was economy, rent-a-car, the phones started lighting up. And economy, rent-a-car gave us a car for a month. And Hilton gave us a room for a month. And then we're sitting in this room in the motel, and here comes racks of clothes coming in the door. And then here comes all these loads of groceries coming in this motel room. And I said, what is all of this? He said, it's contributions from people that saw you on the news. I said, give these things to the needy. We're not needing any of these things. These are material things that are of no use to me. Other people need, give it to the needy. They said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but God's going to lead me. I'm going to listen. And God's going to put me where I need to be at the right place at the right time. And for a year later, I did public speakings to cruise groups, yacht clubs, organizations on this experience, and to be prepared. Be prepared for loss, for lack. With faith, you have no lack and you have no loss. And I've lived by that. And I have no lack and I have no loss. And family have all, I'm it. Everybody else is gone. My stepbrother, he says, brother, what are you going to do? And I said, Charles, it's not for me to decide. He says, but you're broke and you don't have anything. I said, I've got everything. You're a millionaire and you have nothing but problems. The more you have, the greater the burden. The more money you have, the more you have fear of loss. When you lose all of that fear, there is no loss and there is no lack. Be satisfied because God has a plan for you. When you live in faith, you cannot ever have lack or loss. That's my belief. That's the belief I live by. And miracles, truly, miracles have occurred in my life. I have been given gifts of love, material things, houses. After Katrina, my building was the only building standing in Slidell on Highway 11. And I took 30 refugees in and fed them for 6 weeks and transported them. And then at the end of 6 weeks, I gave the building to my nephew and went to Oklahoma to start over again so that he could succeed in rebuilding Slidell and make as much money and whatever. I gave him the purpose to fulfill that I was not able to fulfill. After all, I'm just a greaser. I'm not a carpenter. Give him his area of expertise. So I went to Oklahoma not knowing where I was going. I went in faith because my wife was so insecure. She just knew that we were never going to be able to accomplish what we had accomplished. So we went to Oklahoma. And what happened? Someone gave us a house 2 blocks from the yacht club on the biggest lake in Oklahoma, 5,200 square feet of house. You know what I did with that house? I went there for a year. I wound up there for 9. I gave the house to the church, a Methodist church, because they needed a new building. They said, well, what are we going to do with this house on the side of this lake and next to the yacht club among all these auspicious homes? I said, do whatever God tells you to do with it. Sell it. Take the money, build a new building, or bring your flock into the neighborhood. It's not for me to decide. So we left there, but how did we leave there? One day, my son-in-law calls and he says, Dad, how would you like to house sit a beach house in Biloxi for the winter? I said, sounds good to me. Let me get out of this snow. Been here long enough. It's time for the next base to cover. So we came to Biloxi and we sat in this empty house that was in need, bad need, but the house had to be occupied so that the man who inherited it would be able to keep his insurance. My wife says, well, what are we going to do in this empty house? There's no furniture. There's nothing here. I said, there's a job to be done. The walls need to be painted. The roof needs to be fixed. The yard needs to be cleaned. The fence needs to stand up again. So that's what we did. Where did the money come from? I don't know, but it came. We were always provided. We haven't missed a meal yet. God is good. All you have to do is believe. And when you have need, go to God. God will get you through the hardest times with the least amount of effort. You don't have to stress and strive. It will come to you. All you have to do is believe and ask in faith, and all will be provided. And then the most important part is never forget where your good came from. Be satisfied and thankful. I have a continuous conversation with God all day long. When someone pulls out in front of me and I get aggravated and I go, whoa, 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 whoa. Forgive that person. They have other things on their mind. It's not for me to get upset or mad or argumentative or disagreeable, because it's all in divine order. This is another test. God will test you. He'll test your faith. If you have the faith, God will give you all the gifts. Now I'm going to have to testify something here that a lot of people will doubt. My childhood friend at 42 on my boat, he died. And when I went and I put my hand on him, and his last breath left him, and I said, oh God, what have you done? And I saw this apparition, two apparitions, take his soul and go right through the sail. And I broke down and I could not speak about this event for years. Today I'm testifying. There are angels, and dynamic energy lives in you and everyone that you know and everyone you see. And some of my best friends have been murderers, thieves, liars. And through my belief in them, most of them have been able to turn their lives around only because I didn't lose faith in them, because I knew through me God would work, because I was the example. And that is what I try to be every day, the example of faith. Yeah, I ride a motorcycle. Am I afraid? I'm not afraid. I have no fear. Fear only comes from lack of faith. With faith, anything's possible. Expect a surprise, because the unexpected is at hand.
I knew, of course, some of the things you've spoken about today. I had not heard that story of your friend that died.
No
on
one
the
else
road.
has.
Okay.
Most people have never heard this, because most people would say, oh, this guy here, he's a fanatical nutcase. Where does he come from? The other side of the moon.
One thing that I think for someone in my position, and I haven't polled others, but I'm sure that they have that share the same frustration, is that we'll speak all Sunday morning, all these wonderful affirmations about trusting in God, and then it seems like we barely get home. And I will hear from someone or see something, or that someone's already fallen into the thought patterns of the world, or fallen into victim thinking, or thinking the world is against them. And I'll think, didn't we just affirm that I have faith that God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply? Didn't we just affirm that? And didn't we affirm all of these other things? And we not only said it once, we said it twice. And then I will hear so many instances, not only that day, all week, where we hardly leave the building before our humanness has, the human mind has taken control again, as we say. To human sense makes no sense. But what advice could you give us for staying within that place that you're referring to, where you are able to go into your God mind and stay there?
I'm not a smart man, and I don't think that human beings are real smart animals. We're all victims of society. Monkey see, monkey do. We follow the crowd. Whatever is the world opinion, we just kind of string along. But with affirmations, instills upon your belief system the strength to have faith that when everything appears to be going haywire and you're having difficulties with your spouse or your neighbor or your friend, if you just turn that around, and that person, instead of getting mad, go over there and help them. Put your arm around them. Tell them you want to help them. They'll become your best friends. Some of my worst adversaries, by blessing them, have become my best friends. And that's how I know killers and thieves and other victims of society.
Okay, well,
Affirmations work.
affirmations work. I agree with that. The more we do it, the more it will stay. It must
You
become
have to
a habit.
program yourself. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. You
Yeah.
have to program yourself, because we're not the smartest animal on the planet.
I think we've proven that several times. Well, as always happens, our time has run out this morning, but Frank, we thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I thank all of you for allowing me to tell you these stories, because I believe I'm not the teacher. Each and every one of you are my teachers. I'm a student of psychology, and by listening to your problems and seeing your strifes and your successes teaches me how to be appreciative and thankful that God has put me in this seat to speak today to what my belief system is a success story. Thank you.